Chapter 15 starts with a surprising story from 1906. A man named Francis Galton watched hundreds of people guess the weights of an ox at a fair. Surprisingly, the average of their guesses was almost exactly right. This became a famous example of the wisdom of crowds. It showed that when many people work together, their combined judgment can be very accurate. But Karp and Zamiska ask, should we always trust the crowd, especially when it comes to deciding which businesses and technologies get funding? In 2011, companies like Zynga and Groupon received billions in investment, even though their missions, like building online games or selling coupons, weren't really solving big problems. The crowd was chasing profit, not purpose. The authors argue that we've stopped asking what kinds of businesses should exist. Leaders in Silicon Valley have mostly followed market logic, not moral conviction. They focused on making life more convenient, like delivering food faster, instead of solving serious problems like crime, education, or national security. Some say we shouldn't trust technology to help with public safety, especially because of past abuses by law enforcement. But new tools like AI, gait recognition, which identify someone by how they walk, and drones could help police solve violent crimes, if used carefully. Karp says we need to build and use these tools responsibly, always protecting innocent people. Palantir's work with the New Orleans Police Department is a good example. Its Gotham software, the one that was used to help identify roadside bombs in Afghanistan, helped officers see connections between criminals that they couldn't before. But critics said it was wrong to use military-style software in American cities. The real problem, Karp argues, is that we are quick to criticize new technology but slow to act on urgent problems like gun violence. While some companies like Amazon and IBM pulled back from law enforcement work to avoid controversy, Palantir kept going. Karp believes technology can help save lives if leaders are willing to take risks and act with moral responsibility. Sadly, too many in power would rather avoid tough conversations and leave hard problems unsolved. In 2023, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell was asked if his $190,000 salary was fair. He said yes, even though his decisions affect the entire U.S. economy and trillions of dollars worldwide. This exchange shows how public leaders in America are often underpaid, especially compared to private sector jobs. Karp points out that this system pushes rich people to run for office or encourages others to become wealthy first before serving the public. Congress members make less than many private sector workers, even though they make decisions that affect millions. And yet, we still expect politicians to be driven only by noble goals. The problem is bigger than money. Our government refuses to use incentives that work well in business. Singapore did the opposite. In the 1990s, Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew increased salaries for public officials to attract top talent. He believed that smart people with families and goals deserve fair pay even in public service. America still holds onto the idea that public servants should act like saints, working only for honor. But that's outdated. Real people need fair pay. Otherwise, we're left with two options. Either rich people run the government or leaders use their positions for personal gain later. To rebuild a better government, we need to be bold. We must try new ways to reward those who create value for society, just like we reward success in business. Karp argues that public service should be respected and properly compensated if we want the best people leading the country. Human beings can only maintain close relationships with about 150 people. This is called Dunbar's number. Beyond that, we need culture, language, and shared stories to hold large groups together. Without these shared elements, big societies fall apart. But in recent decades, many countries, especially in the West, have become afraid to talk about national culture. Leaders worry that saying, "this is who we are," might offend someone. In France, President Emmanuel Macron once said, "There is no French culture." People were outraged. A shared culture doesn't have to mean one group is better, but it does give people a common identity and purpose. In the US, we've become hesitant to define or defend American culture. The result? A national identity that feels hollow. People are turning to sports, celebrities, and consumer brands for a sense of belonging, but those things can't replace civic pride or shared responsibility. Karp argues that we need a new national story, one that includes everyone who wants to be a part of it. That doesn't mean going backwards or excluding others. It means giving people something greater than themselves to believe in. Countries like Singapore understood this. After gaining independence, Singapore's leaders made tough decisions to build a shared identity, including promoting a common language. The goal wasn't to erase differences, but to create unity. In America, we've avoided those hard conversations. We need to start having them again if we want to survive and thrive for the next 1,000 years. In 1969, a British show called Civilization told the story of Western art and culture with pride and confidence. Its host, Kenneth Clark, believed beauty, excellence, and greatness could be judged and celebrated. But today, that kind of thinking is out of style. Many now believe it's wrong to say some art or ideas are better than others. This fear of judgment has spread beyond art. In politics, education, and business, people are scared to say what is good, beautiful, or meaningful. We act like all ideas are equal. But Karp warns that this kind of neutrality leads to emptiness. If we stop having opinions, we lose our sense of direction. Building great technology, Karp argues, requires taste. Founders of successful companies often have a strong sense of what is right or worth building. That's not just science, it's art, and it requires leadership, vision, and conviction. Research shows that companies led by founders, not professional CEOs, outperform others in innovation and value. That's because founders care deeply. They're willing to take risks, make bold decisions, and stay focused on long-term outcomes. They treat their work like a mission, not just a job. Karp believes we need to revive a culture of ownership. In the 1990s, Silicon Valley companies gave employees stock to make them owners. That helped create a powerful sense of purpose and belonging. Today, we need to bring back that spirit across tech, government, and education. At the core of this chapter is a plea. Don't be afraid to care. Don't be afraid to stand for something. We can't build a technological republic without values, without vision, and without belief in a common future. Part 4 of the Technological Republic ends the book with a powerful message. If we want to rebuild our society, we must bring back shared purpose, cultural confidence, and moral conviction. Markets alone are not enough. Technology alone is not enough. We need people, especially leaders, who are willing to take risks, speak the truth, and serve the common good. Palantir's story reflects this mindset. Karp's bold approach shows that standing for something, however risky, is what makes real progress possible. As my review of the book, while the book offers important messaging around national purpose and the value of dissent, I found the book difficult to read at times. It's often repetitive and full of run-on sentences. The core argument that the West has lost its identity due to fear of speaking up and an overemphasis on shallow consumer tech is meaningful and one I largely agree with. But to me, the book lacked supporting depth and often circled the same point without offering enough concrete evidence or solutions. There were parts of the book I don't fully agree, especially on Karp and Zamiska's stance on national identity. Diversity is a strength, in my opinion, and while I appreciate that Karp clarifies identity should not be tied to race, the book doesn't quite offer a clear alternative. Still, for investors, the book gives rare insight into how Palantir thinks and where it's going, and that alone makes it worth reading. As an investor of Palantir, I appreciate the book. When it was first announced, I pre-ordered it with excitement to read it. And after reading the book, it's clear to me that a key motivation behind this book is to respond to critics of Palantir, to explain why the company's work in defense, infrastructure, and public institutions matters. And I think that explanation is valuable. The more people understand Palantir's long-term mission, the better it is for the company and its future. I hope you enjoyed the 4 parts summarizing this book. Thanks for watching.